Okay. Hi guys, tonight I'm going to talk about the book Sustainable Frontiers, Unlocking Change Through Business, Leadership, and Innovation by Dr. Wayne Visser. This book was published in 2015 by Greenleaf Publishers. And again, it was written by Dr. Wayne Visser, who has a PhD in Corporate Social Responsibility from Nottingham University, has an MSc in Human Ecology from Edinburgh University, and a Bachelor's in Business Science with Honors in Marketing from Cape Town University, South Africa. He's currently the director of Kaleidoscope Futures, which is a think tank, and he does reference this a lot in the book. He founded the company or the organization CSR International. He is the vice president of sustainability services for Omnex. He chairs the sustainability business, school at Gordon Institute of Business Sciences in South Africa. He also adjunct teaches for the Deakin Business School in Australia. He's written 23 books, fiction and nonfiction. He guest writes for the newspaper The Guardian. He's also published over 300 miscellaneous works, chapters, articles, etc. As of the time of publishing, he had given over 250 speeches. And in the years between 1995 and 2015, he traveled to over 70 countries with his work. And he's also been listed on numerous top 100 lists for businesses and sustainability leaders, as well as receiving a lot of awards for just being an inspirational person and putting out a lot of really good ideas. Again, tonight we're going to focus on his book, Sustainable Frontiers. Sorry. In this book, he posits that corporate and social responsibility or sustainability responsibility has really, over the past years, just become a cliche, very stale, hasn't made much progress and much help for the world. And it's really not matching up to current business needs, the way business is currently run and the stakeholders, and just doesn't really maintain its relevancy, basically. But he goes through and he provides those tools and those insights for what can we do? How can we reinvent? How can we really make CSR and corporate social responsibility, corporate sustainable responsibility more relevant, more just something that's more for what we are today, more in alignment for where our country and where our world has really gone. It's very globally focused just because I believe he's from either South Africa or the UK. He currently lives in the UK. He received the majority of his education there, but he does do a lot of work in South Africa. So I'm not exactly sure where he's from. I'm going to go through each chapter and the main points presented there, just because there is so much good information, and each chapter is its own point. It has its own thesis and good information that I really think is important for y'all to hear about. The first chapter is Unlocking Change Through Transformational Leadership. This chapter really lays the groundwork for the entire book. In this chapter, Dr. Visser talks a lot about how we've become lacking in the area of corporate social responsibility, how it's just really kind of stalled out. But he also gives us the hope. He talks about how important it is to have a leader and leadership in a company that's fit for the future, ready to go, and can really go there. He also talks about different steps and stages that we can take, taking those baby steps like piloting a recycling program, or and having those big beliefs, believing that your company can go somewhere and really do something. He also talks about having the blue sky ideas, the blue sky strategies for going somewhere, doing something big. Another term that I think he uses, and I've been hearing a lot lately, especially in sustainability, is the big, hairy, audacious goals. Those things that no one thinks are possible, but you can really work for. And then the burning platforms, which are those things that will really ignite the fire underneath those people that are important to make the decisions about sustainability programs. You know, it's kind of, if the oil platform's on fire, unless the oil platform's on fire, no one really cares. If, you know, it's something's wrong, well, that's kind of his idea, is really making it important, showing the leadership where it hurts them. And then the other thing that I really liked in the chapter was he talks about different types of sustainability superheroes. Your facilitators, your experts, your catalysts, and your activists. And how they should really be involved and what their roles really are. The next chapter is Unlocking Change Through Enterprise Reform. This is more about changing and transforming really the global business world, the global corporate world and attitudes. He discusses the ideas of revisiting what's the purpose of having business, finding the advantages of cooperating and being interdependent upon each other, treating business as more of an art than a science, because for a long time it's been science, and there is some art to it. It's really interesting, his points that he makes there. Helping corporations change and shapeshift. He talks about family-friendly enterprises, small and medium enterprises, and then just paying attention to the entire footprint of trade behaviors. Not just what is my company doing, but what are my suppliers doing? What are my customers doing? That's sustainable or not sustainable, good for the environment, bad for the environment, good for the society, etc. In chapter 3, he really starts talking about technology and innovation. He talks about how we can use a general sense of how we can use technology. He talks about specific areas that technology has been helping out with lately, such as tracking food waste, cutting down on water and energy usage in various markets, including agribusiness, which was kind of interesting, changing the chemicals we use and how they're produced and disposed of, and then mining mineral usage. Really good points there. Chapter 4 and 5 really tie in together, Unlocking Change Through Corporate Transparency. He lists some trends in accountability and insights into transparency that are most relevant to sustainability in our current corporate climate. Try saying that 5 times fast. This chapter chapter 4 really focuses on the internal transparency issues, ratings, the real business side of it. Chapter 5 goes on to speak a lot more to stakeholder engagement. He really talks about specific social medias, crowdsourcing, things like wiki rates, and these different little technologies that have come out and organizations that are out there for people, different stakeholders for different companies to get together and really share their ideas. Some of them are quite interesting, actually. He also talks about making sure that the right people are involved in those idea sessions, those feedback loops, just to make sure that the right stakeholders, make sure it's not a, tragedy of the commons kind of thing where everyone kind of throws an idea but no one does anything about it. And then he talks about using Web 2.0 technology, which is more back and forth one-to-one dialogue, versus Web 1.0, which is a company just sharing their information. And then he moves into chapter 6, talking more about the social responsibility. Talks about the failures of the current definition of what corporate social responsibility is, what CSR used to be, and what it's moving to, what it can be, 1.0 versus 2.0, kind of how, and really compares and contrasts them to Web 1.0 technologies to Web 2.0 technologies, like a blog post versus an interactive brainstorming session. And then chapter 7 goes into talking about integrated value, how it's not just responsibility or sustainability, but bringing the two really together and really making that the goal and the mission of a company. Then he also talks about holism and integrated management, not just individualistic. The final chapter is chapter 8, where he talks about future fitness, how we can remain future fit, how the web and different tools are being used and developed and are changing the face of business and future sustainability. And then he kind of ends up by making some forecasts about where sustainability will be in the next 10 years, and then also resiliency, which is very important. He does provide an epilogue. To me, it was a little confusing because he talks really about getting back to nature and listening to nature. But I guess it does kind of wrap up the book by, ending where we started, ending with the earth. In this book, Dr. Visser does tend to focus a lot on stakeholders in modern technology and their relationship and importance to technology, which is a good point of view, in my opinion. But I think there was a lot more stuff that he really could have gone into more tools for changing business and beyond stakeholders, beyond the technology aspect, but, even other resources, books that he could recommend that leaders read, or workshops that should happen. And this, in comparison to our textbook by Epstein and Buhovac, this book is more of a call to action for corporate sustainability and responsibility than a guide to what it is and how it's achievable. He also focuses on, his data is a lot more from very specific groups. It doesn't seem as broad as I would like. And he focuses on specific technologies like Wikipedia and even he actually lists a couple of specific ones I can't remember off the top of my head. But he does discuss some case studies which were interesting, but they weren't as formal and as concentrated as our textbook, as Epstein and Buhovac, but they are really interesting if you ever get a chance. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, I'd give it a solid 3.5. First of all, I don't like giving out 5s. I'm like that at work. Because he does provide a lot of solid tools and ideas for making corporations more sustainability. But again, it's the small group focuses that he has, the small resources that he uses, and then some of it to me is a little repetitive. And then some of it was really interesting in fire starting, especially like the first 3 chapters. And the rest of it, to me, especially again when he starts becoming repetitive, trails me off. And then he also starts using terms and stuff before he defines them, so it kind of loses me there, to be honest. But I think it would be, certain parts of it would be a good resource depending on what you're doing, what you're looking at. And just the different time that you're at with the company or your project that you're wanting to do. Again, it wasn't bad. It was not horrible. There was some really good stuff. But I don't think I could try to sit through and read it straight through again. I would go through and pick and choose certain sections. Thank you.